What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel where today I'm going to be back working on the 2011 Rolls-Royce Ghost project. Now in a previous video we had this thing on the frame machine making a couple pulls so we could install our replacement trunk lid. And that's when I realized that the trunk lid hinges needed a little bit of work. So today I'm going to focus on repairing the hinges, getting the trunk lid back onto the car, and continuing some of the repairs to the rear panels. But before we get to it, if you're not subscribed, then consider clicking the subscribe button so you can follow along with everything that goes on here on the channel. Now let's get to it. Now removing these hinges are not really an easy job because you got to take off a lot of parts. If you look here on our replacement hinge, you can see that these things bolt in from the top. So looking inside, I'm going to show you how to get to the nuts to remove those hinges. You see all this trim that goes around the window. All that trim has to come off. Our back seat has to come off. The back part, the bottom part, this side piece on that side, and we have to remove that package tray. Now obviously it is a little bit of work, but the main thing on something like this is you have to be extremely careful because that little trim piece that runs across the top there, that little trim piece alone is around $1,500. So you have to be extremely careful because all this stuff is very, very, very expensive. So we're going to continue here in the rear of the car and tear out the rest of this trim so we can get the seat out of the way and get our package tray out of the way. Well, as you can see, it wasn't really that hard to get this rear seat out, but it's still, to me, pretty daggum ridiculous that you got to remove all this just to get to our trunk hinges in the back. And we still do need to remove our package tray, as you see here. And yeah, let's just ignore that glass for the time being. We'll talk a little bit about that later. With the package tray finally out of the way, we can finally access our nuts for our hinges. And we had some little brackets that we had to remove, one there and one right here, so we could peel this sound deadening back. And they really have insulated this thing very well. I mean, look behind the back seat. And if you look right here, there are our 4 nuts for our right side hinge. We're going to need to remove all 4 of those and all 4 of those on that side once we undo them from the deck lid. So the left hand trunk hinge is out, and that is the one you see on the top, and I have it compared to our replacement on the bottom, and as you can see it is bent pretty good. Now our replacement is for our right side, but I'm going to use it as a reference so we can bend this left side back into the correct position since we can't find a left hinge in good shape. And it looks like it's bent right in here somewhere, and we're going to figure out the exact point. And what we're probably going to have to do is we're probably going to make a little relief cut in there and bend this all back into shape, and then we can weld it up solid, grind it down, put some paint on it, and you'll never be able to see it because you only see about this much of the hinge from here to there sticking out. And that's just a repair that I'm going to have to make because these hinges are around $1,200 a piece and they are impossible to find used. So we're just going to have to fix what we have. Now after a few relief cuts, you can see that our hinge lines up really well with our replacement hinge. And I have these pins stuck in here just to kind of hold everything together, to kind of compare both of them. But you can see they line up pretty well. Even in this direction, they do kind of have like a curve to them. And all the mounting spots line up pretty well. And I think this is going to turn out okay. Now I only had to make 3 relief cuts, as you can see. One here, one here, one here. And most of the bend was right in here and right in here. And we're going to do some tack welding. We're going to tack this up so we can put this hinge in and see how well it fits before we do the final welding. Now some time has passed and we have a nice spring warm day today, the first time in several months, and I decided to get out here and work on the Rolls-Royce today. And I've done a little bit of work. As you can see, we have the deck lid on, we have our replacement bumper, and we have our taillight in. And I've done a lot of work around this taillight here, trying to hammer this thing out, trying to get, you know, these edges back to where they need to be. Now it's going to be almost impossible to get this perfect. I mean, it's just too much metal work. This really needs to be just replaced, cut out and replaced. But for now, I think I'm going to work with this. Now it's going to take some filler, and it does look a little rough, and I don't really like using that much filler, but that's what it's going to take to fix this. And you can see they've already put a little bit of filler in there, and that's just what it's going to take. You know, I mean, this quarter panel right here is like $5,000. So I'm going to make a decision on what I want to do here, whether I want to just use a lot of filler or use quite a bit of filler just to kind of get these body lines right. I've also thought about making some cuts and maybe cutting out a piece here so I can put some flat pieces in. And I have the passenger side as a template, which, as you can see, it's in good shape. So I can make a template off of this and make this lower piece and make this piece coming up and get it at the right angles and then weld it in over here. I'll just need to make that decision on if that's what I want to do or if I just want to do the body filler. Now looking inside, you can see I have our panel still removed here, and I need to do some metal work in there, some welding. We do need to pull this panel. This panel is actually out this way a little too much, about 1/4 of an inch. We need to go in with it. We'll figure that out. We need to figure out our latch mechanism here. This plate has fell down in there. We'll have to figure out how to get it back up. We need to get this back flat so our boot lid will latch. And, you know, we need to finish welding up our hinges, or I should say the hinge there. We need to take that off. I want to get all this stuff fitted up in the proper spot before I go taking anything apart. So I've been doing a little bit of tweaking with the body hammer right here on this lip, and even though it does look good on camera, it's really kind of off. If you look, this back panel is smashed in here and also here and here where our bracket that holds on our bumper was sitting, and when this got pushed in, all this stuff got pushed in. So I've been doing a lot of thinking. There's an issue here, as you can see. If you look, that lip right there, that's the way the lip is supposed to look. So it comes up flat and then it angles out. Well, if you look at this side, you can see it's definitely not like that. It does flare out, but you can see this part right here is out too far, and that's not going to allow for our bracket here to fit. Now when I hold this bracket up onto the car, you can see right here on the passenger side, that's how everything is supposed to line up, just like you see here. And of course we do have our studs knocked back, but if you look over here on this side, you can see it definitely does not line up. And even if I try to hold it up there, this doesn't really line up either. And if you lift this up, you can look right here and you can see our bracket is hitting the body of the car, and that tells me that this back panel is too far out towards me. So I've been doing some thinking, and I think the easiest way to try to fix this is I'm going to undo these spot welds along the edge here so I can access the back side of this panel and try to straighten it out as best I can and get this panel straightened out. And that way I can correct all of our issues, our issue where our latch mechanism bolts, and try to get this all straight, because it's going to be really hard to get this stuff straight with it all pinch weld together. So by taking out the spot welds and getting behind there, that'll help out a whole lot, and then we can just get it back where we need it, and then we can just weld it back up. Now after splitting this seam open, it might not look like I've gotten a lot accomplished, but I really did. This area right in here was in, and we've got our stud back where it needs to be. Some of these areas were a little hard to get to, so I couldn't get those kinks out, but I got this area pushed out, and over here we're gonna have to drill a hole and we'll knock this out and get this straight. But you can see we've got the lip pretty close. There needs to be a little bit more work done there. And if you look here on the inside, this was the other problems that we were having, and one of the reasons why we needed to split this. For one, the plate that holds these bolts, it fell off down in there, so we needed to address that. And plus this area kind of got crushed, so we needed to kind of flatten it back out to where it needs to be. And as you can see, a lot of this stuff did get crushed when we pulled it out. The other issue was this inner panel from where we pulled it on the frame machine. This panel kind of got crushed a little bit, and it was actually out that way too far, about 1/4 of an inch. So with me splitting it, I've got to straighten this stuff out a little bit. And like I said, it don't really look like I've done much, but it is a whole lot straighter than it was. I just kind of pushed this out. Now this is going to get a panel that snaps down on top of it, so you'll never see any of this stuff. So with our bumper bracket back on the car, you can see that it does line up a whole lot better. Now there's going to be some work that's going to need to be done to this pinch weld area, and I'll do that after I spot weld it back together. But it's pretty close now, and you can see that our bumper bracket fits. We have correct gaps, and we have our adjustability, you know, so we can get our bumper cover right where we want it. It looks so much better than it did before. Now speaking of our bumper bracket, now this is a bumper bracket that I just got all the way from England, and let me tell you, it was another one of those pieces that I was having problems trying to find. I could absolutely not find one of these things used anywhere, but I actually found one in England, and the only problem was it was cracked over here on this side, and you can see I've made a few repairs. So I got this thing for around $70. I ended up having about $250 in it once I got it to the house, and that was a bargain, because this little plastic bracket, this bracket that holds the rear bumper on, it was $535, and I was going to have to drive 3 hours to go get one brand new from Rolls-Royce. So that was just one of the major components that I needed to complete this job that I was having trouble finding. I really would like to get the quarter panel section that I could section in and repair that, but at this point it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I can't source one anywhere, and the ones that I've found are just, you know, crazy expensive. It does look a whole lot better than it did before, and we're just going to have to keep working on this until we get it right, finish up all this body work. So until next time, when we'll continue with the rear repairs, I'd like to say thank you for watching. Be sure you check out all my videos and all my other projects, and if you're not subscribed, then consider clicking the subscribe button, click the bell so you'll get the notifications, and you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram.